Yeah, camera is rolling.
Oh, is this the anti-man?
Yeah, my topic, I'm going to read it, is challenges facing female executives.
Sorry, have you started?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
sure.
okay. Challenges facing female executives in the banking industry in South Africa during the post-apartheid period. I gave this title a lot of thought, and I'm very passionate about female empowerment. I've worked with the bank for 15 years, and I've lived a lot of these experiences. So my motivation for this type of full thesis is to actually find what are the barriers, what are the challenges, what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong, looking at the side effects of the policy, because clearly we have the best equity legislation in the world, and yet the numbers in terms of women in directorship positions, senior management positions do not reflect that. Okay, so yeah, so basically that's what just in the what's it about. Just go next slide. Yeah, so as I said there, the advancement of women to executive position in South Africa has been a challenging task in the post-apartheid period. So you think the legislation is there, but how do we actually implement it? Despite the legal framework, and there's tons of charters, the Financial Services Charter, the Employment Equity Act, the Labour Relations Act, other sector charters, etc. There is a commitment from corporate South Africa, but we haven't really seen the pace at which it should be moving. Okay. So this is what I was saying also. If you look at where we are, this is in 2007, where only 6.6% of CEO positions and board positions are held by women. Now, that's an old stat, but it's interesting to track the progress, and I'll show you the slides where I got it from, which is from the Women in Leadership census that they do every year. It started out, I think, in 2006, I think, and it's nice to see. It actually gives you a nice historical comparison to actually show that nothing much has changed, despite the legislation. Okay. Okay, as I said, the primary focus is to address how and why legislation changes came about. So part of there'll be a chapter on the apartheid and the issues and the post-apartheid. So this chapter on the legislative changes and why we're having it. And then specific focus will be given on the Financial Services Charter and the relevance to it. I will also be conducting a qualitative research using a quick questionnaire and a semi-structured interview with female executives. I'm actually thinking of expanding it to male executives as well, because you can't do it without the male opinion, but that comes later through as well. I'll do analysis and recommendations, and it's also to look at maybe certain amendments need to be made, because this is 2007, and yes, there have been amendments, but how successful are these amendments policed in terms of corporate governance and others? We need to look at that too. And before I go further, just go down quickly. Okay. This is all just the same in terms of the abstract. I don't want to repeat everything. I see it again, all of that. Okay. Oh, yeah. Now this over here is just delving a bit deeper, and I actually want to call up the Women in Leadership Census of 2012. The new one's coming out in June this year, so I'm anxiously waiting for that, because the picture says 1,000 words basically. So I'm just going to skip to that quickly. Hold on. Just give me a minute.
So Shiaam, you gave the survey result of 2007, and you say it's updated every single year.
Yeah, they do a survey every year.
Yeah.
This is the survey. If you look at it, it's basically.
But do we have the latest one, like in
only 2012.
Up to 2012.
What happened? In February, I tried to get it through the library, and Zona tried to and only because Linda knew someone at Nedbank who runs the server, and we only got it a week or two ago. So I haven't actually had a chance to dissect it, but there is still certain things there, and I'm waiting on the one in June as well. So I'm also a member now of the Women in Business Association. They also expressed an interest in my thesis because it's also corroborating part of their things as well.
So in 2007, there was 6.6%.
I'm just going to come down here. Actually,
okay, so
these are all the dates. They've got stats available, etc. But that is not what I want to look at. If I really need to dissect it a bit further, because those are just what came up within a week of looking at it. I just want to get to, yeah, they go through the sample size, the key findings. Now, okay, now this is the slide. If you look at 2010, 2012, 2011 and 2012, the CEO positions has actually gone down, so we're actually in the worst position. It's what I don't have a pointer, but okay, I'll use this thing. 2011 also, yeah, directorships has gone down, persons has gone down from 2010. In 28, if I look at the other research that I did, it was higher the figures. So when I started this, I said, and I can't believe it has gotten worse. You know, executive management positions also look at this just incremental. For what? It's not on. You know, and this is the population. If you compare it to 52%, it was 51.6. It's gone up now. It's 52%. 52% of the population, and this is where we're at in terms of top positions. So what does that say? There is a fundamental problem that we need to address and look at. And through the study, this is what I'm trying to achieve, but I'm focusing just on the financial services sector.
So you mean that if the woman CEO says 3.6%, that means the male's basically 96.4%?
Yep. Oh. This is the level and extent of the problem. Like, you know, when a problem makes you sick, so I'm making you sick with the problem. But it's the truth, and really, equity hasn't been given the attention it's supposed to be given by all companies. The only place is in the public sector, because this is a national survey. It's nothing specific to Cape Town or the sector I'm working in, you know. So I just want to go down to another long stats.
Women as a percent of South African population, is that, I mean, should we use that sample? I mean,
well, it's a national statistics. This is from the business census. They send it out to women. They got the research methodology, everything.
I just think that's such a generalization. I mean, you need to factor in the Gini coefficient, and of that, and of those people that are expert at perhaps the certain conditions. Surely you should just focus on those particular people.
This is what I'm doing with my study. I'm only focusing on 15 top people in the Western Cape, and you know, that's why I want to delve further into it, because this is just a generalized type of survey. It doesn't give specifics. You know, it's not my
Maybe
survey.
I can look at both though.
I think we mustn't forget that in around 1996, 97, 1990, let me give you statistics of 1990, the matric results was equal for female and male.
1990.
In 1990, male and female. So the issue around whether you have attrition rate of women going through up to secondary education in South Africa, it's equal. So that's when you start interpreting 52%.
So
That's South African. Yes, that's 1990. In 96, 97, the degree profile of the graduates in South Africa, people that enter university and graduate, it's actually in the fields of management. In some of these fields, there are more women qualifying. So the point is, what she needs to do is look at the statistics of the throughput at secondary post-matric, at university, who enters university, who graduated university, because then you can say, you see, we're not in a country where the girl child is not allowed to go to school. You know, in Ethiopia and in Somalia and Rwanda, all of those are pretty clear issues. But in South Africa, there's equity in terms of access to school for males and females. So when we look at that statistic of 52% of the population is women, we can actually take it through to higher, through to schooling, so, and then also through at university education. And I'm not giving it race color. I'm just giving it the gender issue at this stage.
Can I just? I mean, I did an article on women in business, small business, a few months ago, and one thing that came out very prevalent was, what is the word I'm looking at? Extraneous factors such as giving birth.
It comes up, yeah.
Yes. I think it might be useful if she finishes her.
Can I finish? Hold it, thought.
Oh.
We're coming to that. I'm so busy with the problem, so I have the problem. Okay. And then women, the workforce representation in 2018. This is the direct comparison of men versus women in the upper echelons of the workforce. Sorry. Not AIDS. Anyway. And this is the reality. women are clearly in a minority amongst the male counterparts. And okay, there we go. Okay, so this is a very interesting slide as well, and I thought just to also look at the level and the depth of the problem. Okay, this is a very interesting survey, and as I said, I haven't actually delved into the. I'm actually waiting for the June one to add and change into it. So, yeah.
I think if we can just stick to that slide, you know, May, just to, I think, pick up on this one. I think what is quite noticeable, and it's a flag, is why in government senior managers, because the issue is does women exit out of the career program, that even though they get pass matric and they graduate. So it's not about intellectually that they're not having this, well, do they stay in the workplace? And that statistics of 40.7 at least indicate that women do work. Because how else could they be in government senior manager positions?
It's only government that's done well, if you look at the other sectors. Okay. I'm going to leave the survey now because I'm just touching on a couple of points and go back to my presentation. Okay, now we've discussed that. Okay, discussed that. Okay, and then as I said, just the rationale behind it. Also, again, about the slow pace of upward mobility and all of that. And then also talking about the challenges women face at an executive level. And the key people that wrote about it were people, authors like Stella Pluma and Taylor Cox and M. Davison. And they've indicated that there's a number of challenges, and Kay April, which include, like you were saying, education, societal perceptions, the glass ceiling, Queen Bee syndrome, work-life balance issues. So there's a lot of articles in the body of knowledge out there written about this. These textbooks also on it, etc., and all of that. But also, I mean, I need to get probably updated articles, like Ricardo was saying. There's interesting ideas floating around about what it could be and what it couldn't be. And then you can see how that's going to work. Okay. And then, yeah. So my thing is specifically, also that I've mentioned that my research methodology, and I just want to touch on this too. This is important because I was grappling with how am I going to do this? Okay. So we want to target, as I said, males and females, but 15 people per se, because these are high-profile people, like Maria Ramos, for example, other people in banking that I know. I've worked 15 years in banking, and it also has contacts. So whilst, you know, we might think that the sample size, there might be problems with accessibility, etc., and all of that, it can be done if it's done properly, if the questionnaire has been drawn up. So it's exploratory, qualitative, getting all this rich data, also just sitting with them, having semi-structured interviews. But my next point is about my questionnaire. So I went into it and I looked at various options because there's many people who wrote about it, etc. And what I found really helpful was Professor De Vries's thesis and her model that she developed. Now, her thesis was about discrimination against women in the workplace, basically, and problems it encountered, and a specific model was drawn up in conjunction with Linstone, also adapting a tool from Hill, is that? Yeah. So, because his was done on labor economics, and she changed it to more the discrimination in the workplace, and I also then need to change it to make it applicable specifically to my area as such. But it's very useful because it actually looks at long-term, short-term benefits, etc., all of that, and encompasses a lot of what I've discussed as well, or would like to get out of the interviews. So it will be based on this type of formula, not just a thumbs up type of thing, but a proven methodology. Okay. Ethics, of course, that's like imperative and the key words. Okay, now just onto my theoretical background. Yeah, there's a lot of, with the problem statement that it touches on so much actually. And as I said in the preamble, Stella is very, I mean, she's like a guru on this, as well as Taylor Cox and others. And I think it's important to look at past type of things and future ones too. And then in specific theories I need to look at, the theory of discrimination, again, conscious and unconscious. There's lots of literature about that. Employment equity theories, affirmative action theories, economic theories related to the comparable worth of women versus men. There's also the global competitiveness. I mean, the head of HBCS is a woman, for example, and we want to be globally competitive, and yet we have only 3% CEOs it really doesn't make sense. What I didn't include here also is the gender thing as well. I needed to include that also. There's some books on that also. So in my theoretical background and my literature review, I'm looking at all of these things now. There's more that I haven't put in here because then it would be like really too long to discuss. Okay. And then this is my literature review where I am so far. And I must say this is the most difficult part of masters. I'm not like there's just so much to actually funnel and actually see what's relevant and what's not. You know, so I've put in a couple, but I think there's actually more because I've specifically had a mix of publications, things from 1991 to 2012 to all of these things and the debates around it also. All of these things. So, and I think it's more will come. I mean, I just started just based on what I got there. So yeah, what else? And just in conclusion, I will conclude now that we can go into the thing. Although women, in particular black women, have been engaging in the liberation struggle for decades, the gender has been secondary. We have been secondary. With the advent of democracy, however, a separate focus is now being placed on gender empowerment. The passing of the Employment Equity Act has created an institutionalized structure that provides a legitimate space for women to move in. Empowerment is now necessary for that space to be populated. Redefining empowerment for women in South Africa is essential if the employment equity legislation is ever to achieve its aims. In turn, this means redefining empowerment for men, organizations, South African culture, and society. So it has broader ramifications. And as I said, it's a multifaceted approach. I put there last week. It's about government policy, actual implementation of the policy, looking at the key stakeholders who's actually implementing it, and a broader view of this actually than what meets the eye. Okay. And that's just my little summary.
Okay, thanks. Can I just mention a couple of things? I mean, it's a very interesting topic, and then I think it deserves a lot of interesting research in this area. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, when you present something, I mean, we are the audience. You have to prioritize what we can get out of you. So when you prepare the slides, I mean, normally it's the slides are prepared in the point form. So when you prepare in the point form, then when you can speak about the points, and then we will be able to follow it. But then when you have a sentence that is more than 6 words, even in a particular point, the audience couldn't follow, because when you go through the slides, we have a choice to either listen to you or to read it. When we are reading it, we are not listening to you. So just that, and another thing is that the motivation is very good, but I just found that the idea and framework is very scattered. For example, there are a lot of theory, a lot of literature. If you can just focus on the very important ones and you deliberate, then we can understand that what you are trying to do. So because currently is a very flat structure that there are a lot of things, a lot of literatures all listed.
I'm grappling with it at the moment.
And then when for anybody to start a research at the start, is to identify that, what are the most relevant to you, and then keep focus on that and bring other things to the table. Okay. Yeah. And then the 2007 survey I did ask, I mean, there's a series of it, and the only bias that I could identify at the start is that if we look at the women versus men's population in South Africa, is 52 versus about 48. Let's say about 50-50. And then you found about 4% of women in executives or CEOs. Then it is a very big problem if the percentage of men actually the same as the percentage of women who actually worked. But then let us say that men and women equal population. But let's say that majority of these men actually in the working field. But then let us say that only about under 10% of women actually are working, and the other ones are all, for whatever reason, are not working. And for the ones who are working, actually under 10%, but 4% of the population actually are in executive position, then that is actually very good. Yeah, so it maybe makes sense to look at a smaller sample to see that what is the percentage of women actually in executive position out of the population who are the working women versus the men in the executive position who are actually working in the industry. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think just to say further to that, the labour census statistics are excellent. You have to, no matter which theory you will use around whether you do comparable with the discrimination theory. If you look at the census statistics of South Africa and the labour statistics, it has a profile of professionals, working people, and it has a category of gender and male and female. And at least we've done what? 2013. We have 2013 census we've done in the country. So immediately it will answer, because then it gives you a perspective of how many of the people that are that have qualified, that have degrees, are working, because then it starts addressing some of the other issues around it. But I think that's a very important starting point, to look at what is the labour statistics around professionals, women at work, and that's very current.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, recall.
Yeah, that's fine.
And maybe Ricardo must make a point that you wanted to make about your entrepreneurship issue.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
No, geez, I'm trying to think back now, but I mean, what I picked up was there was a lot of issues with regards to, I mean, we did our research on this topic, that part of glass ceiling issues, I think there were issues of women being mothers and at home and, you know, starting families. So you find that a similar amount of people will go to university, male and female, will graduate, move into careers, but at a certain point in their lives they would move out of that space and go back into being a mother. So sometimes they would stop their career at some point. Maybe there could also be a break in the progress that they find themselves. And obviously there's also the other subtleties that you find that you talk about it, but you can't pinpoint it exactly. The glass ceiling where the male-dominated society, that they are just progressing and females are not.
So that's why it's important to look at. I mean, out of how many working women actually in the executive positions?
I would be interested to see the rate of change. In other words, you're talking now about women starting families. I think, you know, is that still the case? Are we finding women delaying it, and are we seeing a change in the way that women are behaving? Is that filtering through into the way that women are being employed?
I think that's such an important point, because one of the trends, and if you start tracking some of the trends, it's about women delaying, because they build their careers up to 40, so they're delaying childhood decisions, and we have a number of key executives. I'm looking at executive women at universities. We have currently the Vice Chancellor of Pretoria University, and she made a deliberate decision that she will not have a family. She's a career woman. And as a career woman, she was vice rector at UCT. She said, when I made the decision that I want to be a career woman, she's married, she made a choice to get married, but she made a choice that so there's a number of those people either delaying childhood, changing the profile of what they do. But I think one of the other things, and again those labour statistics will provide you with, we'll talk about women that exit either out of the dominant labour force, so you'll see that. But I think what is quite important that I think you want to say, because when you look at the financial sector, it's about what's the, because this is the focus of the thesis, is to look at the profile of people, because again the labour statistics have categories of sectors.
But they do have that.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say, because the finance sector has traditionally been called as the boys' club.
Exactly.
But the women that engage in the finance sector tend to be very aggressive. Well,
exactly.
I would say.
This is what I want to say. Actually, what you have is that women would be the dominant group. So when you look at the statistics, most probably the ratio of women and men working in the financial sector might even be up to 60 to 70% of will be women working in the financial sector. However, it's about how they then move upwards into the corporate sector.
In fact, they all look overseas comparables, like Canada, for example. They've changed their policy 2-year maternity leave. 2 years. And they've got mechanisms in place for that to happen. So there are countries who've adopted other type of policies to assist them to actually keep that traction, because that is the problem also. That traction is not given where you just, nothing is conducive for you to raise a family and have a job at the same time. It's not because you don't want to do the job, type of thing.
Something else that I read briefly at some point in my process is on
the difference between voluntary and involuntary compliance. And I know you spoke a lot about the legislation and all the legislation that you introduced. You'd be interested to see. I can't give you any more than that. I just know that there's this area where people talk about voluntary and involuntary compliance and how that affects whether or not how change comes by. So.
If you
Almost
could
like
find
that.
it would be good.
Yeah, but
I will know. I'm very good at keeping track of things.
Okay.
and often all we do is almost like the charters or the codes to say explain rather than comply. You know, in the governance codes, it's about you rather explain rather than comply.
Is there anything else? I know I'm leaving.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, I just want to say this is a very nice. You're really welcome to join the clique. You know why? Because I mean, the rest of the students here. I mean, we're all doing like basic quantitative, no more quants than qualitative, and it's very nice for us to see that how survey can be done and eventually what results are obtained. Yeah. Yeah, because most of us were using statistical tools currently, and then I don't know if anybody touched corporate finance. Is there any of you? Or is it all investments? Yeah, so it's nice that we have like the main last topic is green finance, like social responsibility and all of that, and your one is like corporate governance, which are important fields anyway. Yeah.